being sad even though it's the incorrect week. Good job. So yes, this is week 3 recap of Gman. We are going to do Divisions 1, 2, 3 like always. This week we are going to focus on Division 1. I'm joined once again only by Infinitepink, who actually didn't die at the end of last recap.
Yeah, I'm still here. Hey guys.
We might be
Sorry for that.
joined by vikingkop later, but we are unsure because he's a little bit under the weather. Regardless, we have divisions to recap. So let's start with Division 3. We are actually doing it in an order that makes a little bit of sense this time.
One time only.
Yes. No, we had a match played. Ooh. I've seen a little bit of the matches. We had some interesting matches and one that was played pretty late. Let's start with the non-high elves versus the underworld unimpressives. The Pro Elves won against the underworld. I don't think anyone is surprised, right, with that result.
No, not too much. I think generally it's going to be hard for the underworld to keep up with the pro elves there. I think we said last week that we thought it was going to go this way, to be honest.
Yeah, the Pro Elf team is quite silly. Like, although it looks like they suffered some major damage if you look on the team. We have a minus armor on the Abomination and a minus movement on the Blodge guy.
Yeah, it's a big deal. Also for potentially for who he's playing next week, just having the guy out, the double plus movement plus agility.
And the thrower is also niggled. Ooh.
That could be a tough game for him this week, actually. He isn't not having those players.
Yeah. You probably end up keeping the movement 10, even though he's AV6 now. Just because if you get sprint and sure fit, he's still going to be able to be worth it on the bench. But it's definitely... like, it makes the Agi feel a lot weaker, because you're not going to get dodge if you want sprint sure fit.
I think it's going to be maybe a little bit harder to keep him alive, but like you said, generally if he starts using him as a natural one-turner, then it's just not going to be on the pitch that much, so it doesn't matter.
That's a lot of money on the bench.
Do that though, I've seen loads of people do that. I mean, most natural one-turners are a fairly high team value because you have to get at least a couple of movement ups generally, unless you're
well, most of them are either gutter runners, so they only need one movement, which makes them like a little bit cheaper because of that, or it's a wood elf catcher, which starts with sprint and dodge, which makes life a lot easier, both to level up and he's a lot cheaper.
Yeah, and you just get there quicker as well, so you really do ramp up that much faster.
Yeah, you just need to roll the movements. So yeah, big damage on that team. I think all of the division is happy right now because that was a very scary team.
Yeah, I just want to check who's playing next week actually.
Ooh.
Revolutionary Corpses.
We'll look into that in a bit, but before we have Random Boy took the Revolutionary Corpses, which is the Khemri team. Finally a win for Random Boy. He's definitely happy with that one. He didn't
moving now.
Yeah. Only took 3 games to win one. Good job. Have you seen that match?
No, I didn't, but I think that is a really tough game actually for the Khemri. Like teams that really, I think they need all of those Tomb Guardians to really be there, making a presence, and the Hypnogaze just completely messes with that. And I think it can make it particularly hard to play against as a team like Khemri.
Yeah. Also to metal, technically he died on week 4. We will still talk about him, but later. For the third match of Division 3 last week, which is week 3, the humans and the Amazons drew. They played pretty late into into the week because I had to bother them about it. But it's a draw on a match that was very hard to decide last week.
Yeah, I think we were quite split on that, weren't we? And I guess it kind of makes sense that it ended up being a draw in that case. Can't see there was much damage done to the Amazons there.
Aw, boo. We like dead Amazons.
Yeah, I guess everyone else does as well. So let the side down there.
I think both coaches should be happy with the draw there because it's a difficult match to both of them, and both of them probably respect the other quite a bit after that match, seeing a 1-1 draw where no one can really get the advantage, I assume. Especially with those removal counts.
Yeah, I would have expected a bit more damage to have been done to the Amazons, actually.
They did get KO'd quite a bit, but I assume they had double babe. Just because they are so much down on TV. So if you like KO 5 guys on your half, or even 6, and they all wake up, like you're not surprised with double babe, and that's all your damage gone.
Yep. Yeah, for sure. I mean, yeah, fickle KOs definitely can make things tricky.
Yep. For the follow-up, we had the Primetime Nibblers, which is Sean Man taking the win against Absolute Disaster, which is Thomas T. That was actually another pretty big match. Because Sean Man has a nasty Skaven team, even though he doesn't have any line rats, but Thomas T also had a very strong Dark Elf team. But it seems like they were pushed a little bit down in terms of TV. I believe we are missing at least one Blitzer, thanks to Sean Man. Because there was a death. And I see the tackle lineman got injured as well for a minus movement. Actually, no, he wasn't. It's from before. Nah.
Oh, it was already there.
Yeah. But I believe
Yeah,
a Blitzer was removed, which is never fun. And I think he used to have a different witch. I think she died like 2 weeks ago. Like week 2. But the team is still pretty strong with that strength 4 Juggernaut Witch Elf.
Yeah, great to surf in. We love it. That's what they're made for. And
Hammersep reporting about the Amazon match that he only had one babe. But probably what I said happened with like 6 KOs coming back. Or quite a bit of KOs. And he felt a little bit bad about it. And I have doubts about that.
yeah, he didn't feel bad about that. Maybe in retrospect he can understand, but I'm sure he didn't at the time. It's just being nice.
Yeah. Sean Man taking a pretty big win, I think, against another pretty strong contender. Although right now I would argue that everyone is a big contender, because most of the teams are very scary. Maybe Random Boy would say that vampires are like not that scary, because vampires are usually not that scary, and Baines' team are a little bit weaker right now, because they are still rebuilding. But outside of that, everyone is definitely in it to win it. So yeah,
I mean, you can do anything at this point. So I actually think in some ways it makes it. I mean, like you can come back from a bad position here, but it's really nice to get out on top early and
take the lead.
Keep it from there. Yeah, exactly.
For the 5th match, we had 3 Musketeers and Spheres against Drop Dead Gorgeous, and it was a draw 2-2 between Skaven and the Necro. And it seems like the Necro brought all of the injuries into the rats, according to the report. Ooh,
I think I said I thought the Necro were going to win that, but
I think I went with the rats against you.
Yeah,
and like,
yeah. That's what I was going to say. I think you went for the rats, so it's quite nice that it ended up as a draw.
I see a minus movement on the Strip Ball Gutter Runner, which is going to hurt a lot. And I
That
wonder...
is actually really annoying. I had a minus movement on a fairly well developed Saka gutter runner once, and I did keep them around because my other Saka kept dying, so I didn't really have a proper other Saka, and I just really felt like I needed one. But it did affect his ability to do his job quite a lot actually, which you don't necessarily expect because most of the players like highest movement is going to be 8 anyway. But just being able to kind of influence more of the pitch, and it means when people are like playing against like elves or something, if they're trying to stall in the backfield more, it's so much easier to like pressure them without actually putting yourself out of position.
Yeah.
So things like that, it actually made a bigger difference than I thought it might.
I also believe the rookie gutter runner is replacing a dead guy, because there was a death in the match report. So that's possibly 2 dead gutter runners to pick Cyril in that match, which is definitely not something you were hoping for going against Necro. On the other hand, the Necro probably gained all the SPP thanks to that. And we finally see the second white and the ghoul as well. I don't really see any major level ups. I believe the tackle wasn't there last time I looked, but nothing major changed. They still have all the guard.
Yeah, I actually quite like this team. I
Yeah.
think it took quite a beating, like at the end of last season, or if they played in the Devastation or something. But I actually really like it. I think once it's built up again a bit, it's going to be really strong.
Yeah, it's definitely one to look for. Maybe not this season yet, but definitely next season is going to be scary if they manage to keep that. So for the sixth match, we had Bainzy versus Thermal, the Gaian Raiders versus the Nordic Nublet. I think I watched a little bit, and it was pretty much Bainzy. He tried, but his team just didn't hold up. Like, he has a lot more room to still rebuild since losing the Yeti. There is a new one that we talked about, but not performing yet.
Yeah, and it can take quite a while for them to really do their thing, I think. And it's also one of those ones that a lot of people are a bit half and half on the Yetis, I think. I think it really depends who you're playing against. I'm not sure which side of the fence do you tend to
I
be on with the
play
Yetis.
I play a bit of quite a bit of Norse. I like to start with the Yeti because early on it's not too bad to carry a Yeti because like everyone is meh and the wolves are also pretty bad, so he's just a fluffier wolf, at least for the first few matches. And if you do manage to get that mighty blow, he's pretty useful. Usually if my Yeti die, I don't replace him, just because getting to mighty blow proves to be a lot more difficult than you would expect. Because you never blitz with the Yeti, because he's wild animal. He usually doesn't get blocks, because you cannot move him, because he's a wild animal. So he just stays there, doing absolutely nothing, and like waiting to get MVPs until he gets mighty blow and then maybe become useful.
Yeah, it is hard actually. I mean, that's kind of the life of a lot of big guys, though. I suppose
Yeah.
it's not just
There.
it's just not just like exclusive to the Yeti, but it is tricky to get them there. That's why I much prefer big guys like Beast of Nurgle or the Crocs or something, which
Yeah.
can make it harder for people to get away from you. So you don't have to be like blitzing with them and stuff, because obviously you don't ever really want to be doing that.
Like even the rat ogre still has like tail, but the wild animal is a lot more like decapitating for that playstyle. And like usually most teams don't rely on the big guy to be the blitzer. Like none of them really, I would say, unless you're doing something stupid or Hugh Jackman Memorial Cup.
Special scoring might
Yeah.
mean that you end up doing it.
Agi3 Mummy OP.
Yeah.
So yes,
But
for
I'm not really. I don't think I'm too surprised with that result either, though.
yeah, Baines
I
still
think
needs
it's
more
always
development.
yeah, and it's always a bit tricky. I think playing Norse against other Bash teams. It's just so much of a glass cannon. If you don't get the advantage early, you do just end up losing generally.
Yeah, you rely on having like a solid Yeti, which he didn't have, and fouling, which he probably cannot afford without a bench. So
Yeah.
that like you just hope AV7 holds and block does enough. For the last match, we had a pretty big one. We had Andy Davo versus Steve's Samoa. the Killy Murder Chaos team against Andy Davo's crazy Dark Elf team that scores a lot. I don't see any damage on his team, which is disappointing. But he did win it 2-1 in the end, and MNG'd the ball carrier. Actually, no, it's a niggle. He niggled
Yeah, I niggled him.
the ball carrier of Samoa, which is definitely going to hurt in the long run.
Yeah, I mean, at least he's hopefully not going to get hit too much, but obviously he's going to be the one being sacked sometimes as well, so it's going to happen.
Also, Death Floor exists.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'm looking. There was a couple of badly hurts on Andy Davo's team, but that was it.
Yeah, so that was week 3. Let's look quickly on the matches of week 4. We have the Killy Murder Chaos Team Samoa against the poor Underworld. I think this is the matchup you hope for as Killy Murder Chaos Team.
Yeah, you just got to get your hands on the rats, I guess. It's or just do loads of 3-dies on the goblins. That's the way to go, I suppose.
Yeah.
There's only one Mighty Bow Claw on the Underworld team, so not too much bash coming out from them. So I would probably actually, I might guess the Chaos would win this one.
Yeah, they also right now are standing with only one bench before inducements. They might induce someone like Skater Stab, which can be insanely annoying because he's a gutter runner. But I still think, like, with so much Mighty Blow, it's a very difficult match to end up losing because, like, you just remove all the goblins and eventually they don't have a team.
Yeah, for sure. There's nothing to work around then. And they've also got the added little difficulties, like when you get reduced player count, you suddenly have to start relying on passing from a rat to a goblin or something, and you roll that one and you just can't do it. That's when stuff like that starts happening, is when you start losing players. So it's tricky playing against teams like this.
The animosity definitely limits you at times. It's a really weird, like, nega trait that makes no sense on Underworld, because Underworld is such a strong team.
Yeah, they really needed that nerf, didn't they? Well,
it's definitely a flavor one. So for the next matchup, we have Andy Davo taking, instead of Chaos this week, he's taking the Nergal, he's taking Thermal. And just like last week, like, Thermal has like a little bit of tackle. He has a Claw Mighty Blow tackle on the Pestigore and a Mighty Blow tackle Nergal Warrior as well. And a Rotter with tackle. But I just don't see Andy losing this unless something goes extremely wrong. Because his team is so strong right now. And this is not enough tackle murder.
no, and he does. Obviously, he can use the tentacles on the beasts as well, but it is definitely going to be tricky. It's got more to work with than the Chaos team last week, but it's still going to be really tricky. And I think it's at this kind of level in terms of team value that Dark Elves just absolutely shine, because a lot of the teams haven't managed to build up enough tackle at this point. So in general, this is going to be a good season for him, I think, and definitely this game is favoured for the Dark Elves.
He's a strong coach with a strong team, so he's always going to have some sort of advantage on you, especially if you're a team that is not fully developed yet, like the Nergal.
Sorry, I was having a drink. Yeah.
So for the third match, we have the Nordic Nooblets, coached by Benzi, against the Three Musketeers and Spurs by Pixie Rail. Now, this, I think, might be the first match where I feel like Benzi can, like, take this, just because of his insane Berserker. Because the Rats are missing some key players.
I think also in general, I find personally that the best teams to play against as Norse are the agility teams. I think it's really hard against the other bash teams. So this is kind of where they're in their element as well, in general. I think it's probably the best. From looking at like the previous matchups that he's had, it's probably the one that I'd be most confident for him. Like the best chance he's had.
Yep, the Storm Vermin with Mighty Blow, Piling On, and Tackle is going to miss the game. So that's definitely a massive advantage. And if Pixie Rail wants a wizard, he's going to need to put some of his own cash into it, and I don't think he's going to commit, especially with needing to replace like Line Rats, because one of them is dead right now with Armor 6, and with possibly wanting to replace the Movement 8 Gutter Runner eventually.
Yeah, I think so. He's not going to want to spend much of his own money. And having something to fight back with, like the Mighty Blow, Tackle, Piling On, Storm Vermin, is hugely important. I think you want to try and take advantage of the fact that all of the AV7 on the Norse team, and not being able to take as much advantage of that really hurts. So I think I might actually be putting my money on the Norse for this one.
Yeah, I think with the Killer and the Strength 4 Blodge runner against No Strip Ball because he's missing the game, like it's just going to be so difficult for the Rats to take the ball off you, and you probably can just murder the important pieces with your single Berserker, because there are only 3 Gutter Runners and one of them is a rookie. So definitely a match I think Bainsy can win, and it makes me happy because I'm a mate of Bainsy. I know him for quite some while. So it would be nice to see him take this one, because he didn't have a good start for the season with starting with a dead team.
Yeah. No, I think it's the best shot he's had so far, definitely. So it'll be interesting to see what happens this game.
Yeah. So for the 4th match, we have Sean Mann's Primetime Nibblers against Drop Dead Gorgeous. So Sean Mann's stupid rat team that is messy and missing a lot of line rats, but like he has 4 good gutter runners, including a natural 1-turner with 2 heads, which I believe is new, the 2 heads, and pretty good 2 killers, even if one is with an eagle. He's going to face the Necromantic this week.
I mean, as I basically said every week, it's just going to the only thing going for. Well, not the only thing, but that's not fair to say. But the main thing going for the Necro this game is all the guard they've got, and I think little things like the natural 1-turner, negating the ability of the Fetched Bowmans to like stop the 1-turn and things like that. It's really going to tip it in their favor as well. Like It's kind of like the icing on the cake, that kind of thing. Not a lot of tackle on the Necro team either, just the one on the Werewolf.
But both of them with Mighty Blow, like the tackle on the Wolf and the White, both with Mighty Blow.
I don't know why I missed the one on the White. I think it's because it was his first skill he took. Yeah, both of those, the Mighty Blow tackles are going to be really important. And all the guard, again, this is something I often say, but I do think that it's hard playing against that much guard as Skaven, but I think they've got the tools they need to win it. I'm going to have to put my money on them, the Skaven.
Like, it's always difficult to gamble against Skaven, because Skaven can just like win it randomly, like when no one expects, because Skaven, and they definitely have some scary murder tools with the Eclaw Pomb tackle Storm Vermin and the Eclaw Mighty Blow tackle Storm Vermin alongside him. So I think I'm also going to vote Skaven. But maybe Sean Mann explodes, and like next week I'm very happy about it because 1 rat team less for like Gman. Probably not, but hopefully.
You haven't played your rats in the Div 1 yet?
Not yet. I have some time before that. For the 5th match, it was played, so I'm just going to skip that one because we'll talk about you next week. Random Boy is going to play the humans, and I believe he's going to get like all the inducement right now, with about 370,000. Ooh, I see Energy 3 Thrall, which is nice for him. Energy 4 Thrall. He might be given sure hands and just be a dedicated ball carrier. Also, Donald Trump actually leveled, and now he has Blodge as E5, which is very nice for Random Boy.
Yeah, I mean, you really want that on all of them eventually, don't you? So getting this guy leveled up and getting him protected like that is a big deal. Keep him around.
Doc Mark, the human coach, is already complaining about having a very expensive team and getting inducement against him. Andy Davo will not get inducement against you. So, it's something. There's one guy, and
Like
he
one
might
team.
explode. Yeah, and he might explode before then. Let's see, when do they play? No. It's pretty late. Week 8. We're halfway there. So
I'm not
yeah.
sure who I'd put my money on this game. Checking out the teams, and I'm a little unsure on this, if I'm honest.
I think from like a little bit of looking, I think the humans might have enough damage to just remove a few thralls and make Random Boy's life a little bit too difficult to deal with. Cause Random Boy only has one dirty player and no Mighty Blow right now. And yes, the Agi5 Vampire is very frustrating, but like the humans are pretty fast with the movement 8 Agi4 Blitzer, so they don't have to be as aggressively pushing as you would expect from a bash team. So cage busting is not as strong. They can play very healthy, score rather quickly with like a handoff play, and whenever they need, just like Agi you inside against you, like move around, stop you from advancing. You're a pretty slow team alongside bashing you. Because possibly they win both the Bash War and the Agi War, and you just win the Hypnogaze War.
Yeah, I think having the proper dedicated Saka catcher with the Wrestle, Dauntless, Strip Ball could be quite important as well to try and get those Blodge vampires there. Against a Strength 4 Blodge piece, it can be really hard to get the ball out of their hands. So having the Strip Ball, I think, and Wrestle can make a really big difference there.
A lot, especially with like Dauntless, you can actually get a 1 dice on a vampire with no assists.
Yeah.
And this
and he
with
hasn't got
Strip
any
Ball.
guard to mitigate that as well.
I think the humans have enough Elfie tools and enough speed to like just run around the vampires, and they definitely have the guard. And with that catcher that you mentioned, like that's probably enough to take this game. But vampires can do some silly nonsense at times, and like just win the game with Hypnogaze.
Yeah, I think that it's going to come down to that though. Like, if Random Boy's going to win this, it probably is going to end up having to be like some good Hypnogaze, Strength 4, Agi 4 shenanigans to get in there. But I mean, that's why you play vampires, so there's nothing wrong with that necessarily.
So, to chat, welcome vikingkop. It's nice to see that you're at least here in chat. And to Doc Mark, you have this bomb guy with tackle. If you can convince me that that is not bash and that's completely friendly, you win. Like, okay, this is a friendly team. Good luck. For now, while you're writing such a complicated proof, we'll go into the last match, which is the non-high elves versus the Khemri, the revolutionary corpses. So, pro elves versus Khemri, and the pro elves are pretty beaten up. But the Khemri are Khemri.
You're going to get quite a lot of inducements there, which they're probably pretty okay with as well, to be honest. I mean, it's got some pretty important players out, in fairness, the Pro Elves, but I don't know, maybe I'm missing something. I always just think Khemri are such a difficult team to play. Like, maybe I haven't got much experience with them, but playing against really dodgy, high agility teams, I just think it's so difficult. They just run away from you, and there's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah. it's pretty difficult, like, against the Agi teams, especially when they get a wizard against you. So, like, they just drop the ball, and even if they don't pick it up, it's not like you're going to pick it up.
Yeah, a lot of the time, all you need to do on defense against Khemri is just get the ball on the ground, put a couple of players next to it or something, and that's it.
Yep.
It's going to be there for the rest of the game, the rest of the
Well,
half.
it's either scatters into one of your players and you get it, or it stays on the ground. Those are the options. Unless it's like Haringzord and he goes in with a Tomb Guardian, picks up on the 6+, and like no one is surprised.
Well, yeah, it's Harrowing Sword, isn't it? Well, he deserves it after his halflings last season.
He definitely does.
But yeah, I think I'm always going to be, even at like a team value disadvantage, I think it's always going to be favoured for the Pro Elves in this matchup.
Yeah. Also,
they might lose some guys, that's always going to be a possibility. But I think the actual win itself is quite likely to go to them.
Yeah. Also, only one tackle on the Khemri, and that tackle being movement 5. That makes life pretty difficult to actually stop the elves from running around. I think it's going to go to the elves unless they just explode a little bit too early because they don't have a bench for this game, and there is Mighty Blow around and you are AV7 as Pro Elves.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it can definitely happen, but I wouldn't be surprised to see this, be really quite favoured for the Pro Elves. To be honest, I wouldn't be surprised to see them go 2-3-0.
Yeah, it's like most matchups for Skaven. You're going to die, but you're going to win it.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I'd say definitely.
So, quick look at the leaderboard. Right now, Andy Davo standing up quite safely at the top with being the only 3 wins, but still early on. And we have, for the people that didn't play their match this week, we have Mr. Ladybug with the non-high elves. They did get beat up, but they are 2-1-0. So maybe if they manage to recover, make that movement 10 guy into a natural one-turner, they could like slowly pop back up and maybe overcome Davo when they face each other. Steve is also there with 2-0-1 and Sean Man with 2-0-1. Both of them good coaches that definitely have a chance as well, I would say. And a lot of 1-1-1s and below.
I've got this little niggle that I've just got this feeling that Steve's Chaos are gonna like do the opposite of what I thought they were gonna do. And when we started this and we looked at the teams like before the divisions have even been like properly started and everything, I really thought he was going to struggle this season, and he's done a good showing so far. I've been impressed.
Yeah. So before we move to the next division, I will answer a little bit to chat. AV7 is the best armor. It's proof. Like that's why Claw is actually a really bad skill, because it makes the opponent an AV7, which makes them like better armor. 3-0 is the best result. I would agree with you, vikingkop. It is the number of champions. And Docmark saying that Andy Davo still has difficult opponents to face, like a guy named Docmark. So yeah, like he can definitely drop down, and you could argue he got easier matchups to start with. But right now, what we know is that he's in the lead. So go out there and prove me otherwise.
I actually think, though, Docmark, your human team is probably going to be one of the hardest games for him this season. Yep. So you need to go out there and damage him a little bit.
And you get inducement this time.
Try and murder him. Oh yeah, and you won't be giving away loads of inducements, so...
No, he will be getting, right now at least, 10,000 in inducements, which is enough to scam a wizard with an additional 140.
Easy, no problem.
Moving on to Division 2. How did this... Well, you're the first in line, so how did this week go for you? Actually, I think you played this... No, you talked about it a little. You didn't play it before we recorded, and I see you won.
No. Yeah, I hadn't played it when we recorded this last week. I did manage to win. It was a real nail biter, actually. It was ended up being quite close. I've always found Ken really hard to play against. He's a great coach,
Yeah.
and he did the classic Ken thing. It's becoming quite a common thing for him, where he'll get mercenary blockers with guard. So he had two of those guys. He had just enough inducements against me to get two guard blockers as mercenaries. And it's a brilliant tactic. I think he's right to be doing it. So he really outguarded me. He received in the first half, and I did manage to prevent the score. But I think we went into the second half. I was a couple of players down, but there was one or two turns where I managed to even it up, and he managed to make me really work for it. I had to roll a couple of dice, which obviously you don't want to do.
Yeah.
But I did manage to get the score just at the end of the second half. So it was kind of the classic 1-0 Nurgle win in that respect. But he did a really good job. There was one point in the second half where it looked like it was going to be a really easy touchdown for me, and he managed to make me work for it.
I see that you took a big hand on your ball carrier in the end.
Yeah, I'm really unsure about it.
Well,
like, yeah, I don't know. There was actually one point where I had to hand off to him in that game, and I was like, damn it, why didn't I have extra arms? But because anyone that wasn't watching, I was originally planning on giving him extra arms, but some people mentioned big hand in the chat of this last week, and I thought about it a bit, and I decided to go for it.
It's always good to experiment.
Yeah, it's not something I've done before on this kind of player, and I do think there's going to be a couple of really important moments. Like it might actually win me one or two games flat out.
It's
I
definitely.
think there's going to be loads of little things where I'm like, God, I wish I had extra arms, right? Just in this one specific moment, but like it won't. I don't think those moments are likely to be those necessarily as game winning. So I'm hoping that in terms of like actually making me win games, that the big hand will do better. But we'll wait and see.
Yeah, I definitely like experimenting, and it's not something like completely stupid, because there are really stupid options to take. I would like to see how it goes for, like eventually, because I didn't really play much with it. I don't play a lot of Chaos or Nurgle, so I actually want to know: is it worth it? Is extra arm better? Is tackle better? We might never know.
I almost certainly wasn't going to get. I do consider it on ball carriers sometimes, but I genuinely don't feel like I need it too much on this team. I don't tend to like press too much if someone's like stalling in like an actual team stalling in the backfield or something. I don't tend to like put them under too much pressure. I'm quite happy to sit back generally, so I don't feel like I need two people like that. And I will end up getting tackle on some of these Nurgle warriors eventually. It's going to be a while away, but
Docmark happy to see other teams that are bloaty for a change.
yeah, I properly embraced it with this one. I think you got
Yes.
it there when you play teams like this.
It's nice to have silly, expensive, bloaty teams. So yeah, that was the first match. Then we have Wendor's chance versus the Mighty Reptiles. I believe Haringzord casted this one. And it was a pretty difficult match for Wendor because he just got outbashed. The claw didn't really hit enough. So like he just went down numbers, and it's really difficult to deal with being down numbers against lizards. And he ended up losing it 2-0. I believe he killed someone, but I don't remember. I think it was a random skink, but yeah, it was a random skink. It's a skink. They should die.
Everyone's more happy.
Yeah. I'm happy. That's the important part.
Yeah. Just makes you feel warm inside.
It does. So yeah, I believe this was in when we recorded the last one, and I just talked about it a bit. Svaho lost 2-0 to JJ Cash, and like I don't think anyone important died in that match. But a nice win for JJ Cash. Svaho has a strong team. And apparently the human elves are better than the normal elves. Or at least than the dark elves.
Yeah, do you know? I think we might have. Trying to remember. I think we might have bet on the Dark Elves last week when we were looking
Yeah,
at this.
2 weeks ago or something like that.
Mm. But I mean, it is a strong human team, and we mentioned just a minute ago with Div 3, I do think in general it's quite a good matchup for the humans, Dark Elves versus Dark Elves. Um, so I guess it doesn't surprise me hugely, and it's setting himself up well, JJ Cash.
Yeah. For the fourth match, we had Bleeding Hippie proving that he's the best Chorf around, winning against Big Easy TP. Definitely an important win because the Chorfs here are playing to murder each other, and Bleeding Hippie took some MNGs because I believe I watched that match. Don't remember who casted it, but it was a pretty bloody game. So yeah, 2 MNGs on blockers on Bleeding Hippie. Definitely going to be difficult for next game. Big ZTP also, like I believe Peter Tosh was already there for the match. So he didn't really take any damage, but he ended up losing it. So probably better overall for Hippie. An important win for the season, I would say. But yeah, it's going to be hard for him next match.
Yeah, it's a big one as well because it's that kind of matchup, mirror matchups, and they've both got pretty strong, kind of similar looking teams. It could easily go either way, so winning those kind of games can make a big difference in the long run. Yeah, I think you'll probably be pretty damn happy about that.
I believe that puts Hippie on 3 wins as well, and it removes Big Easy TP's like win streak. So definitely important to take another contender with a strong team, even if your team gets a little bit battered.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. I mean, it's unfortunate, but you're gonna have players getting injured and all the rest of it. That's always gonna happen, obviously. So you've just got to roll with that. Winning the games is what's important. So
For the
and
following
it's not
match,
it's not so much that I think it's just going to ruin his chances next game or anything.
so I believe around this time of the recap you died, so you didn't actually cover these matchups. uh, Fumbling Beige Militia, which is the Chaos team, won 2-0 against the Nostalgic Memories. I think I talked about it a little bit. On myself, I say it's going to be a hard matchup, but the game plan should have definitely been murder, because they did have some Mighty Blow, one with Tackle, and just a little bit more Mighty Blow. And I said you just induce dirty players, induce bribes, try to kill everything. And going to the statistics, it seems like the elves got a little bit murder, at least with 5 KOs and 3 injuries, 1 KO from a foul as well. So, yeah, it definitely worked for him this week. And that's a nice victory for him for sure. Not easy to take elves down with chaos early on.
It looks like just looking at this here, it looks like Fedic with Fumbling Beige Militia. It looks like he took a couple of mercenary warriors with block.
Ooh, that's fancy. I don't
Yeah,
hate that.
No, neither do I. It's probably not something, if I'm honest, I don't think I would have even considered that. But I quite like that actually. And he was lacking them, the Warriors, that game. He only, by the looks of it, he only had one. The Mighty Blow Claw guy.
Yes.
So getting that extra strength in there. And, Loner's annoying, but with block, it's not the worst. I think that's probably quite a good idea. I like that.
Yeah, he probably leveraged with a little bit of strength and some Mighty Blow, and that definitely made the match. I think it's a win you should be happy with, especially when you enter the match so battered. And the Elf are pretty scary. I believe they were two wins, so you ruined their win streak, and now Only 1-1-1 on the record, but like that's how you start to improve, by winning your first one.
gotta go somewhere, haven't you?
Yeah. For the fifth match, we had some kind of wizard win, which made me happy, against the Underworld. He
Yeah, he's been
really,
having a
like,
bit of
7 injuries on the poor Underworld. I'm not surprised, but I definitely feel bad for the Underworld.
At least it was a lot of badly hurts. Looks like he got minus agility on a on a goblin.
Well, he's dead.
Yeah, he's gone. But other than that, it was all badly hurt. So in the long run, not the worst, but I'm sure it's probably a really difficult game to play.
Yeah.
Losing that many.
Well, playing Underworld is always like praying that you don't explode, because you have like 3 good players that are actually not going to explode every time someone hits them.
Yeah.
So it happens. It's a tier 2 team for a reason, but when you make other people explode, that's when it gets fun.
Yeah, that's when it feels great. I've got a bit of a soft spot for Underworld. I think they're just a fun team to play. So I do like seeing them around. So hopefully you can come back from that and kill some people.
vikingkop disappointed that there was not enough madness this week. Well, we had more deaths last week, I think, but definitely enough madness if you ask me. Also, for the last match, a match I was actually unsure if it was supposed to play, because Kyakro, Human Liber's coach, was a little bit busy, but apparently he was able to schedule it with Major Bite, and he won against Major Bite. I'm not too surprised, just because Major Bite's team is a little bit smashed with like dead Zerkers, or dead weight Zerkers, depending on how you look at it. And there is a natural one-turner for the humans, which is always scary, no matter which team you're playing.
Hmm. Yeah, it's outguarded. Um, Slightly less mighty blow. And he's got these great runners, which when he's got the team to go around them, I think they're going to be amazing and they could win him games. But at the moment, playing a team like these humans, having so much less guard, and actually, things like that one turner, I think it, I would have always put my money on the humans here.
Yeah.
Really tricky game for him. He
Yes.
needs to get these berserkers leveled up, but I guess it's quite hard. Probably any touchdowns he is getting are going to the runners, most likely.
Yeah, like the runners are nice, but like when you compare them to war dancers, they are like they're just weaker than war dancers, like level 2, level 3 war dancers. So yeah, like and the team is not as agile to support them. So you like the game plan of Norse is not have 2 leapy star players. The game plan is to murder you and maybe have 1 good runner to like just make the ball drop when needed. Like he has the runner, now he needs the murder part.
Yeah, normally it goes the other way around. But
Yeah. Yeah, that was last week. So this week, week 4, you're playing against Major Bite, and I'm starting to feel bad for Major Bite already.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to lie. I think it's going to be a really tough game for him. If you assume like equal coaching and average dice, then I'm pretty sure I'd get the win there. So fingers crossed. Yeah, if he comes out with a healthy team, I think he would probably be fairly okay with that.
Yeah.
You'd have to ask him, obviously, but
Yeah, vikingkop mentioning that having like semi-war dancers for Norse is pretty strong, but like it's not enough yet, because you're pretty expensive on TV, and you need kill. You just need Zerkers. They're such good positions.
yeah, completely agree.
Yeah, for the second match, because we just assume it's going to be a bloodbath. for the Norsemen at least. So for the second match is Humanly Bear against the Underworld, Warpstone, Sneaky Servants.
Yeah,
Underworld are
that's
going
good.
to get so much inducement.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy actually. Is it home or away?
That's like 615 inducements. That's way too much inducement.
It's hard to know what to spend it all on after a certain point, isn't it?
Yeah, like you're going to get probably Skitter Slab Stab, a wizard for sure, like 2 babes, 2 bribes, and you probably have some money left over for babes.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be a really, really tough game for him. Which I feel bad because he's just had a really rough game by the looks of it, but I think it's going to be another one. I mean, it's almost, I think it's kind of another one of those. Apart from suffering a bit of bash for the humans, it's kind of an ideal team to play against. He's probably going to be hoping to get quite a lot of experience out of this as well, just hitting all those goblins.
And like the natural 1 turn is going to make it very difficult for the Underworld to actually be able to do a thing. He might just be like 1 turn into like force the goblins to be aggressive, so you can just base them up and punch them, and then whenever you get the ball 1 turn, because you probably get more blocks when you're defending.
Yeah, well, you just 1 turn every chance you got.
Yep. And just try to murder them on defense, because it's easier. Because they have to base you if they want to advance. That's like a legitimate strategy. And that's like when you really want to go full murder, I think. Just never hold the ball, always be on murder.
That's an interesting strategy. I'd like to see that tried. There's not many times I've seen people just go for the 1 turns every chance they can get.
Well,
Sounds
it's
quite
like
risky to me.
it's an edge case, but your game plan is like you assume you're in the lead, so why not go for full murder? That's my logic at least. He might go for a more traditional strategy of just slowly murdering them instead, which still contains like quite a bit of murder, but not as much murder as I would like.
It's hard to state your lust for murder,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Like, we need to pump the murder numbers. We haven't seen enough deaths yet. At least this, like from week 3. Week 2 was very bloody.
Trace reckons he favours the Underworld in this matchup. Is there a particular reason for that?
Probably Claw Mighty Blow. I just like, if Kyako will play properly and not go silly, like dealing with the 1 turn is so difficult. Because the Underworld 1 turn is not very strong. Because like you have animosity, which is annoying. You have to deal with like making the landing with the loner troll, and usually something fails, and you just eat the goblin instead, or kill him on the throw, or both.
Yeah, I mean, it comes down to this kind of glass cannon thing. I think if he was able to get some early removals with the Claw Mighty Blow, maybe a couple of fouls with a chainsaw or something, could suddenly find himself in the lead, with a numbers advantage, and maybe it'll spiral from there or something. But I don't know. That's a lot. I don't know. It feels like a lot of this.
Well, like
I think it's going to be a lot more like.
Hmm?
I feel like the humans would be able to come out on top with more just kind of average dice. They're not going to need to kind of.
Also, it's pretty scary to feel the chainsaw when there's a 1 turner right there. Even if you have bribes, like just like you filled him
It's just
for
gone
no
that
reason
way.
at all. Like he's going to eat a bribe because turn 1 touchdown.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you probably have to. You can only really field him if you have the choice on attack.
Well,
Because of that
if you
reason.
do that, then he's going to stall you on defense, and that's like the fear of getting 1 turn with a secret weapon is actually quite scary, I would say. It's definitely going to be a mind games thing, even if you're not going to go for it.
Yeah, the whole one-turn thing, the natural one-turner with the secret weapons is an interesting interaction. I hadn't considered that much in the past.
Yeah.
That is really tricky, actually.
It
I'm still
mostly
gonna.
happens to goblins, but goblins don't care. They just kill it. Like, they play for silliness.
Yeah. I think I'm still probably going with the humans. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll go for the humans mostly because they just have enough guard, I think, to deal with this matchup. Even if you have some claw, and yes, sometimes the claw mighty blow just like injures every time it hits, but sometimes like piling on mighty blow does the same, especially to goblins. And I think the humans have a better team when it's like 5v5. And it probably doesn't reach that because the human have quite a deep bench with 2 on the bench.
Yeah, I think it would have to be. I think the underworld to win this, the underworld would probably have to be receiving first and just do a horrendous amount of damage
Yeah.
in like the first few turns, which is, could happen. Totally could happen, but I don't think you can be relying on that.
So yeah, for the fourth match we have, for the third, counting is hard, Nostalgic Memories versus Of Ice and Dire. So that's Lava Jackal versus some kind of wizard. Live Union versus Necromantic. So
Mm.
Wizard is coming after a win, but his team is still a little bit lacking, I would argue, with the Dead Wolf from 2 weeks ago.
Hmm.
And the Polves are still like very silly and super fast with a Blow Judgy 5 leap. I think we have one both on the Polv in this division and on Division 3, and it's nasty, and I want one of them dead at least by like week 6. Because that's too many Agi5 leapers for my taste.
Yeah, I think I'd have to go with the Pro Elves on this one. I think the Necro just don't have quite enough like kill ability to kill in order to like get a real advantage there. Like they've only got the one tackle, mighty blow. Um, they've only got a couple of guard as well. I just think that the Pro Elves are going to run away from them. They've got 2 agility 5 pieces. So it's going to be really hard to stop them if the ball does go on the ground.
Like, the thing is, if some kind of wizard really fears a leap into the cage, he's just going to carry on a strength 4 wolf with blodge, and like with no wrestle or tackle or stray ball or dauntless, you're not touching that inside the cage.
That's true.
And like, I feel like it's going to be very heavy on one turns. Like, if some kind of wizard manages his one turn, he's probably going to at least guarantee a draw or even win. But if he doesn't and the Proebs make their one turn, it's probably going to be tough to survive to not end up losing it. But he does have the Flesh Golems with Stand Firm. But on the other hand, Lava Jackal has 2 Blitzers with Sidestep because they start with it. So if they are both going to commit to that, it might just be a 1-1 draw in the end because no one can one turn.
Mm. Yeah, I could see that, I suppose. I just feel like the no, okay, yeah. I was about to say I just think that the Necro aren't really going to be able to stop the Pro Elves from scoring, but it might go the same way the other way. So, like you say, it'll just end up being 1-1 if they both just end up scoring in their own half. I guess what some kind of wizard could do is if he can just force the Pro Elves to score earlier, maybe they can get a return. A return touchdown. I think it'll be harder for the Pro Elves, to stall it out and score at the end of the half than it will be for the Necros. So maybe that would actually be something to think about for him.
Yeah, especially with an accurate strong arm, safe throw, sure hands thrower. Like, I feel like Lava Jackal like his game plan usually is to score quickly and just win that way.
Hmm.
But in this matchup, I feel like if he does go for it, it's going to backfire so hard. If some kind of wizards, if he picks up the ball and you don't roll a blitz, it's going to be so difficult to take it off him with blodge ball carriers or with the wolf, which is blodge strength 4. Like either of the blodge ghoul or the blodge wolf is going to be insanely difficult to remove with no leap tackle or leap wrestle. And because of that, maybe he's going to just like get in his own way by scoring quickly and just get grinded, because that's what happens to a lot of the fast scoring elf teams if they don't have a very strong cage buster.
Yeah, he is really lacking a sacker, isn't he?
Yeah.
I imagine that might be what Warcraft a third will end up being.
Well, like the leap guy usually is the sacker, but with no wrestle or tackle yet or strip ball.
Yeah, that's the thing. He's not going to have like wrestle tackle until he goes legends.
Yeah, well, he's probably not going to take
Well, he's not
wrestle
gonna get
ever.
wrestle now,
He's
block,
going to
yeah.
like take tackle strip ball, but that's so slow. Checking for David Bowie elves. I don't see any David Bowie elf, which like doubles the reason to vote against the pro elves for me. Because like if you play pro elves, at least one should be David Bowie.
Every single one of them should be,
Yeah,
right?
probably all of them should be David Bowie, but at least one. Like you could argue that too many David Bowie might break the timeline, and that's a pretty good argument. But at least one.
Create some kind of rift in the space-time continuum.
You just open the game and it crashes. Like, and the error message is too many David Bowie.
Yeah, I think it is gonna go to either be a draw or go to the necro after we've discussed it. My initial reaction was for the elves actually, but I think I've changed my mind.
I'm very convincing when I try. Like, I think it's leaning more toward the necro, but my two problems, like always, is elves can do elf, and some kind of wizard can do potato. And those two forces definitely go against the necro winning.
Yeah, I'm not sure on that one. Let's go with a draw.
Call it a draw. For the next match we have Hippie, missing two of his dwarfs, going to play the Chaos. This is going to be pretty interesting because he's not going to have inducement money to do the Ken style of inducing guard dwarfs. He's going to be up on team value by quite a bit.
And there is a couple of Light Blow Claw on the Chaos there to help crack into the remaining dwarves. Not a lot of guard though, which will be that's going to be a big deciding factor this game, I think, is how well Bleeding Hippie can use his guard.
Yeah, the Bleeding Hippie leading on the guard, he has quite a bit of mobility with his...
Sorry, Karen.
He has quite a bit of mobility with his Blodge Bull Centaurs. I believe both of them are Blodge Break Tackle. And maybe it's the time for the Ball Sucker Hobgoblin to shine, because there is no sure hands on the Chaos team. And there is a Wrestle Tackle Strip Ball, which makes most ball carriers very easy to sack.
Yeah, and I was actually looking at the Chaos team first. We've only got 2 guard actually for Bleeding Hippie's dwarfs.
Still more guard.
Pretty similar. Still more, yeah, but not as much more as I thought there might have been. The 2 Blodge Break Tackle Bull Centaurs are going to be really hard to pin down though.
No. Bleeding Hippie is probably going to fill out strength, but maybe he has like more of agility type gameplay with the 2 Bull Centaurs, with the Blodge Hobgoblin, with the Agi Hobgoblin, and the Ball Sucker Hobgoblin. maybe they together can just like sack the ball and run away, while the Chofs are just hoping to maybe get an injury for a number advantage and just base the Chaos Warriors for a while until you score. This is going
Yeah.
to be a lot harder than you would expect, at least from how the teams enter the season.
Oh yeah, and actually, having those two guys out this game is huge. Like that makes such a big difference. I would have automatically just been going with the Chorfs here, probably, if he had all of his blockers. Um, so the way this has come out, it's pretty good for the Chaos.
Yeah, I even think I might back up the Chaos here, just because they start with 4 Strength 4 players, and he might induce like a Chaos War with Chaos War with block again, because then he really has a number advantage, and it's going to be tough for Hippie to like get an advantage somehow, especially because Bleeding Hippie doesn't have a bench, and Fedic will have a bench if he induces a Chaos Warrior. And then he just like needs to hold on a strength 4 guy and make it very difficult to sack the ball, just because you're safe in a cage and it's on a strong player.
Yeah, I could. I'm struggling again with this one. I think a lot of it's gonna come down as well to the coin toss at the start. Both of them having high armor teams, but also then both having 2 Mighty Blow Claw players. Getting those first hits and getting that numbers advantage is going to be really big.
Yes, definitely.
But I think that would have. I think that's going to have a big part of it.
Yeah, I'll agree that the Chaos. I think the Chaos have the edge, but coin toss is like the game winner here. Like in a lot of bash matchups, the coin toss can just like make or break the match for you.
Yeah, for sure. I often have. There's been plenty of games that I've played against, alt teams where I've maybe thought I'd have the advantage, expect to do quite well, but I've lost the coin toss and they've had like 2 or 3 removals in the first turn or something, and then I'm just on the back foot the whole time, end up losing. Makes a big difference.
So going for the 5th match, we have BDSL, the Dark Elf of Savao against TP Easy, Big Easy TP's Chorfs. And I just think this, like, I used to think Chorfs are so good against Dark Elves, but then Ken in Clan League became the Chorf Whisperer, and he has like an amazing winner record against Chorfs. So I have a little bit of doubts about that, but I still think this is a match in favor of the Chorfs. Like, there is quite a bit of blodge, but there is also quite a bit of tackle to counter it. You're still elves, and speed can be very annoying for Chorfs because they are not as fast. They do have the bull centaurs, but like normal dwarfs are annoying for elves. So I would assume Chorfs are the same.
Definitely. I would probably have to go with the Chorfs here as well. I mean, the one thing that you can try and do against these teams is just stay, keep away from them, try and run around them. But it's not as easy to do that against Chorfs actually because of the bull centaurs, and also dark elves are, probably they're like the slowest elf team, so not the best at like running around people. I'd definitely go with the Chorf team here.
Yeah, the biggest player for the Chorfs is going to be this Blodge, Mighty Blow, Tackle, Bull Centaur, which make it both that like you're always under threat because he's agile, like he can dodge and he's very fast with movement 6 and sprint through feet, but he also has Tackle, Mighty Blow, so like he's not only going to be a good sweeper, he's also going to hit you hard while sweeping when you try to go aggressive and score quickly or push.
Yeah,
Also,
because A big thing about playing against dwarves is, trying to nip through basically and get behind them and make it so they're running after you. But that's so difficult, going to be so difficult against those, those bull centaurs, especially that one you were just talking about. You get past the blockers and you're just going to have this Lee Scratch Perry guy coming in and smashing you in the face.
Yeah, chat seems to agree with Chofs being a tough matchup for elves, for dark elves specifically. And like also, we didn't talk about the second bull centaur. He has Agi 3 and Sure Hands, which means he's the ball carrier. And I just like with a good sweeper for defense and an amazing ball carrier that's probably not going to get popped. Like alongside Chorfs that just punch the elves, it's going to be so difficult. I say. And probably go for the Chorfs, unless elves. But, like, there is a Pomb elf with tackle. So maybe? Probably not, but maybe.
The thing is, as well, against the Dark Elves, like, you even get some value out of your claw. Like, a lot of the time, that ends up being a bit of a wasted skill against elves and stuff, but you can actually still help against Dark Elves, so even little things like that. I think a lot of it's in favour of the Chaucer.
Yeah. Yeah, probably Chorfs. Maybe Pomb Dark Elf is going to, like, kill 3 of them. And then, like, what are we going to do now? But probably Chorfs. So, another Chorf match, because we skip the humans versus the Nurgle, because they already played. And Ken is going to play Kraton, so Chorf versus Lizardman. Lizardman pretty healthy, they lost like a rookie skink, so the team got better actually.
Yeah, that was just excess, right? Didn't need that.
Yeah.
Got 4 skinks, that's all you need.
So, and 3 guard overall for the Lizard, and looking on Ken's team, he's going to get like about a wizard worth of inducement. So that's only enough to replace 1 Chorf, and he's missing his claw piece for this match. So usually I favor Lizards on Chorfs regardless, just because how annoying the strength and the guard is, because you're usually going to have a very difficult time like getting the hits to actually kill them. But without any claw, like you have no advantage here. Outside of like maybe strong fast players, but Soros are really fast. So
Yeah, I mean,
don't even have that.
He's going to be super happy about that, Kraton. Seeing that guy out for sure. Even regardless of the end result, it's just going to probably put him at ease a little bit more. He's not going to have so much fear of his Saurus getting permanent injuries, etc. And it'll make him more confident probably to play the kind of game he wants to play. Get in there, try and outstrength the dwarves a bit. He might have been slightly more reluctant to play that as connected if this claw guy was running around. But without that, I think he's going to be a lot more confident for sure.
To chat, the race, get good. That's the answer. Just get good. Yeah, vikingkop also telling you that you should get good. That's fair enough.
I mean,
Yeah, so
I'm pretty sure it's gonna be a really tough game for Ken here. But he seems to end up. I don't know if he seems to end up feeling a little bit on the back foot a lot. I find he seems to be quite unlucky getting these like random injuries at like bad points and things like that. And he always seems to somehow still do really well. In fairness, like I said earlier with our game, he managed to really make me work for it.
Yeah, being pushed into the limit, so you play your best, and sometimes people get complacent and expect, oh, he's missing key players, so this is an easy one, and then you like go all in and just do your best.
Yeah, for sure. That's a big deal. People playing against you like just assuming it's a done deal or whatever and getting a bit complacent is massive, actually.
Yeah. So I would give this one to the Lizards because I think it's definitely a favorable matchup regardless of Claw, and with no Claw it's like ideal matchup, it's the dream. Lizardmen are the natural counter to Dwarves, I would say, just because it's so difficult to deal with the strength. Dwarves are slightly better than normal Dwarves in that position, but not by a lot. And like not having Claw just doubles the problem for Ken, but he's definitely going to try his best because I know him.
Oh, I'm almost certain he's gonna make it a really tough game, regardless of what the final result is.
Well, the big problem vikingkop for fouling is that he's going in with no bench, which is going to make it difficult. Yes, he probably can induce a bribe or like a guard chorf, which will give him a bench. But is that enough? I'm usually not agreeing with, because the Lizardman can probably lose a single source and still be in a very strong position, because you're going to play with so many hobgoblins, which is a big disadvantage, and they probably can also hurt the hobgoblins because of that. 'Cause it's easier to hit them when you actually have to base with the hobgoblins. Yeah. So that's Division 2. Going.
Yeah.
Let me look at the leaderboards. 3 teams on 3-0-0. JJ Cash, Infinitepink, Bleeding Hippie. This is a 3 over there. Like, you don't have, like, yes, my mouse is hiding the number, but it's a 3. I guarantee it.
Don't go and check yourself there.
Yeah, it's not worth your time. Yeah, this division, like, really cut in half. Like, you have, like, 6 teams that are, like, 3 wins or 2 wins and 1 loss. And, like, Fedic on 1-1-1. And then, like, everyone is 1 win, 2 losses, or 3 losses from there.
Yeah, it's almost quite mirrored, isn't it?
Yeah. So, still too early, but this is a division where it looks like more of a substantial gap is starting to form. Especially with only 3 slots. Like, the guys at the bottom might need to get worried, like, next week or in 2 weeks if they don't start to perform, because they might just be left behind.
Yeah, there's actually some pretty big games coming up, I think. Like in terms of like the teams in the top division. So I'm playing Motorbikes North this week, but then I've got Bleeding Hippies, Chorfs, and then JJ Cash's Humans. So it's like the top of the division playing each other into quite a lot in the next few weeks. So I think how the dust settles after those games is going to be a big tell. Well, it's about halfway through the season, I think. So.
No. Always, the matches between the top people are always going to be slightly more interesting, and we are getting close to there, so that's nice. Now moving on to the final div, slightly later than expected, Division 1.
Alright.
We did have some teams play their match, but luckily no one like is cheating like JJ Cass, so you don't need to do too much illusions, because it makes life a little bit easier. So yeah, quite some games this week. I'm going to start at the top, which is not a Darkstar second liner versus Vein of the Living, because Bobby Bintang dropped due to busy time real life. We're going to start with the Orkov, where Manus was able to take a 2-0 victory against Filbo. And I think we expected that because of the guard state.
Well, I think it was just you.
No, you were there for the Division 1. Because we did like 1-3,
crazy
2-1-2. You died on the last division, which was Division 2.
Yeah. I remember now. Let's have a look at the teams here.
Yes, let's go. Oh, they're both Indian. Let's look at Philbo's a little bit first.
Oh my god, there was a lot of injuries this game actually. Proper
I
scrum
don't
by the look of it.
see much perms, which is not nice. You should kill each other, don't just badly hurt.
No,
But
a few misconnects games and badly hurts, but
yeah, Philbo is missing once again one of the guards for a game. The guard guys are not very good at staying on the pitch, it seems. And with so few of them, it's going to hurt. Especially because it's a Black Hawk as well, so you're losing a guard and a strength piece.
yeah. I think it's kind of an odd skill choice for me, I think, actually, that looking at it. I know it's not what you were pointing out, but that's why I was being a bit slow on the uptake there. It's quite late to get block, I'd say, on like a strength 4 piece like that. Would you normally build them like this as an orc coach?
No. But when we went into this, the first game, which was against Metal, and he had Mighty Blow and the level up pending, and we even said he probably just needs the guard, because with one guard you're not going to do well. With two guards you're still not going to do that well, but you're going to do better. Probably more better than if you had another block. Just because having guard is so important.
Yeah, fair enough. You know, you think it'll have more of an impact in the short term. I can see that, definitely.
Yeah. Also, I believe the Rook number 4 took Mighty Blow, which we didn't see him pick the skill. I don't hate Mighty Blow, but you have so much of it, I would say Guard. But I'm a big fan of Guard, and not the biggest fan of Mighty Blow, which is not the most common thing amongst all coaches, and usually more common with Lizard coaches, but I coach both, so it makes sense.
And I'm quite with you on that, to be perfectly honest. You know, it's great having the ability to do the damage, but at the end of the day, the biggest thing is getting the hits in the first place. Like, if you're getting twice as many hits in without Mighty Blow as someone with Mighty Blow, you're probably going to end up outbashing them.
Yep,
just
that's
through
why
the
I
sheer
say
number
Guard.
of times you hit people down. Exactly. So I really think you want a good mix. Like, it really does hurt you to spam one of them too much.
Yeah. Well, 8 guard can get very frustrating for some teams. Extremely frustrating to the point where you can still win games. But 8 Mighty Blow can, it's all about getting lucky with the hits, I would say. So if you spam one of them, I would spam guard more. But ideally you want a split.
As well.
Yeah.
It gets better with the more you have of it, whereas Mighty Blow probably has diminishing returns. Like, you only get so many hits every turn. If you have a bunch of people without with Mighty Blow that aren't able to hit someone that turn, they're not using that skill. Obviously, you don't have to actually be hitting someone to use guard. You can also use it defensively.
Yeah.
It's not just about allowing you to hit people more. It's about reducing the number of incoming hits and allowing you to bog people down more. So it has more utility as well, I'd say.
Yeah, it's a little bit like block. The reason why everyone agrees block is the best skill is because not only it's important for your block dice, because it gives you a knockdown chance if they don't have block, and it removes a turnover. It means that when you are hit, you are less likely to get knocked down. And if they don't have block and turnover on a both down, you also you stay up, and that really gives you a strong position, to even make it better that they turnovered. So guard does a little bit of the same, which is why I think it's probably the second best skill in Blood Bowl. Even though Mighty Blow is still really useful to have, but it's, as you said, the diminishing return on Mighty Blow gets very hard, very quickly. So, after 4 Mighty Blow, how do you get more hits than 4 in one turn? on the first turn you're not going to get it, and afterwards no one's going to actively base 5 Mighty Blow guys. Like, I don't think, at least. I may be wrong here.
No, it's not likely. Not unless they have a load of guard.
Yeah, like, oh, I
and
just...
then you can't, and they know that you can't hit them or something.
Like, you just all mans with like 10 Mighty Blow guys on the line, and they get a perfect defense, and now you have like 10 guard guys in front of you, and everything is red dice.
But yeah, I completely agree. I think 4 is like the sweet spot because it's really nice being able to hit the LOS and obviously blitz someone. But after that, it's only marginally useful.
Yeah. So that was the first match of last week. We're doing it a little bit differently this time. Doesn't matter. This is a big match. Did you see this one, or at least the match report for High Cells against Ravenclaws?
Yeah, I didn't get to watch it, but I did see the match report. Absolutely insane, isn't it?
Yeah, like,
I mean, kind of what you'd expect, I guess, of these two teams, but bloody hell.
I think when we recorded it, I said like it's probably going to be a shootout where Blitz is going to win it or random murder, and I think this went the very much random murder route for both of them, but Gaudi won it in the end.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the big thing you said was like they'll just both keep scoring, and then the first one to get a blitz so that they can get an extra score in basically will take it.
I'm not sure if that's what's happened because I didn't watch it, but there was a lot of LOS blocks for sure, and probably a lot of blitzes as well. Let's look at Venechar's team first. He lost his Mighty Blow tackle Dauntless Dancer. You can see him here on the MVP. He MVP'd to level up while being dead, which is frustrating, but yeah, not much you can do about it.
Probably cursing Nuffle at that point, but he's got to keep you in check, hasn't he? Considering the team he's got.
Yeah. I also believe the sidestep on the other dancer is new, which is not surprising when there were like 4 touchdowns and all the murder. Like that guy got 12 SPP in one game.
Yeah. He got a level up on a few players there actually. He got the Dead War Dancer, the Cross Movement War Dancer, and then the Rookie Catcher leveled up as well. So losing the War Dancer really sad, but getting a couple of good levels up there.
Yeah, like his team is still crazy, but that's a dancer that will hurt to lose. Also, he's going to play vikingkop next week. I just checked to make sure, and we'll talk about it a bit later. But you probably would have wanted that dancer for for the match against vikingkop.
I think it's those kind of matchups that he specifically took the Dauntless for as well, so it's going to be quite annoying to lose it just before he gets to use it. That's literally why he got Dauntless, was to play people like this. So.
On the other side of the murder fence, we have
also a whole load of damage done,
Gaudi's team. He replaced both of the dead guys with rookies, but we're missing the nonsense Strength 4 Agi 5 guy, which I wanted dead, and I got him dead, so I'm happy. And also the niggled Big Hand Agi 5 Leap player, I believe he was, also died, which is pretty big for the division. 2 insane gutter runners. He still has 2 other insane gutter runners, but that's a big step down for the team, going from 4 good gutter runners to 2 rookies and 2 good gutter runners.
Yeah, I mean, he was over 2 million in team value before the game, and now he's at like 1800. So yeah, that's quite a big step down in team value, and just 2 amazing players that aren't there anymore. I mean, from both sides, there's been some pretty big casualties here. I'm pretty sure the rest of the division are all cheering. It's quite funny that it's like the 2 Agi teams playing against each other that did all that damage.
When there are 10 touchdowns, that's like
It's a lot of LOS
30
blocks.
LOS blocks,
Yeah.
not including like the half starts, which probably makes it closer to like 33 LOS blocks. That's a lot of LOS blocks. That's a
Yeah.
lot. Like, if you look at the block count, there is like 80 blocks total, which is insane for Agi against Agi, because you expect them to just dodge around, but that doesn't matter when all the hits are LOS, because you can't
Yeah, you
dodge the
don't even get
LOS.
that many blocks in like bash games usually.
You just like, he scores when I get to hit him.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about that. That's pretty crazy actually. And you don't see score lines like this every day. That's really fun. I like seeing stuff like that. Should go back and watch this really. I bet that was a fun game.
Yeah, vikingkop correctly mentioning that there is quite a bit of guard on the rat team. He went for guard on the killer, which, like the pomb tackle one, which I like. And I don't like guard first skill, but I like having guard on rats, because you need it. 2 line rats with guard is still pretty strong. But when he's starting to meet like the orcs and the Nergal and the chaos, I have doubts about the ability of guard rats to survive, because they are going to base people and get punched.
Yeah, they're not that likely to stick around that long, but I still think they're really useful to have while they are here.
Yes.
I definitely still think it's worth taking them. And if you do manage to get, like, if you're lucky enough to get a couple of skills further, you get like block, fend, or whatever, something like that, block, tackle, whatever you want, you might be surprised. So they're not going to be the easiest thing to take down. They're still going to get hit every now and again, and it's AV7 obviously, so they're not safe. But if you can get fend on them as well, that gives them a bit more protection. It's one of the only players I'm not a big fan of fend generally, but funnily enough, players like that, I actually really quite like it on.
I still disagree. Like, just because I think Fen does so little. Like, and like, it's really funny to have a Juggernaut player against Fen, because it makes them feel even more useless. Like, they have a bad skill, and like, oh, your bad skill is useless, hooray!
Yeah.
But
I mean,
there is not
I think
much better to take. That's where I
That's what I
will
was about
agree
to
with
say.
you.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. What else would you take really? Maybe tackle. But
Yeah. Like, wrestle tackle, probably. Fire your other kick guy, and make one of the guard guys the kick guy. Because that's like TV management, which is good. And that's a way to keep the guard guy relevant without giving him bad skills.
yeah, that's the point. Actually, I'm not necessarily the biggest fan of the wrestled kick. I'd rather have kick on just like a rookie guy, and then you can take him off the pitch when you're not kicking, assuming you have a bench. Um, I'd I'd rather have like wrestle dirty player, to be honest, and just have kick on someone else. But if you just really want kick and he happens to have leveled up, I could see that.
Yeah.
I mean, it is a big skill for Skaven, obviously. So, you know, if you find out you just suddenly don't have it and you really need it, and maybe he might have been planning on getting it on one of those guard guys, but he rolls the double, so he's thinking, kind of need, I want to take the guard, which is fair enough as well. So. Yeah, I could see it in these circumstances. Actually, I could kind of see that.
Yep. Gaudi definitely still has a strong team, even with the 2 dead gutter runners, but they are going to be missed. And maybe if he has a tough next match, and another important piece dies, the Storm Vermin, which are near impossible to rebuild, or Gutter Runner, then he might just fall into the circle of death. So the game plan right now is win and don't die, which is not easy for Skaven, because usually the game plan is I might die, but I'm still winning.
Yeah, and it is a big thing losing the Storm Burning at these higher team values. Like, it's one thing getting the levels at lower team values. I don't find it's the hardest thing. It's obviously a lot harder players to level up than that. But the problem is when you get to these higher team values, you do end up pretty much always scoring with your gutter runners, because games a lot of the time are going to be a bit closer. You're not going to want to risk trying to hand off to one of your storm vermin is often, that kind of thing, you're less likely to be kind of in a dominant enough of a dominating position to be able to do something like that. I have struggled myself in the past with like the Skaven teams that have already been quite built up and then lost to storm vermin. It takes me way longer to level them up than it did when the whole team was ready.
Yeah. Welcome to Gaudi, and this will be the finishing sentence about your team, which is like you lost two really important gutter runners, and it's going to hurt. If this death spiral goes into next game as well, where you lose another key positional, it might be really difficult to recover from. But right now you're still just a little bit above the bar of being a strong team. And I think that losing either of the two good gutter runners or a storm vermin might change that position at least. So your goal next game, as I said before, is to win and not die, and that's a lot harder than you would expect because Skaven are really good at dying.
Pro dying.
Yeah.
Really good at
Uh,
that.
for the next match of last week, we had Reef Cannon and actually no, Dreamify and the Jungle Corsairs take down T's Umis. I watched a little bit of that match. T says it was dicing. He did get quite bashed by the Dark Elves. They got some good injuries, but they just, at least from my perspective, I think T was a little bit too potato and gave enough opportunities to the Dark Elves that eventually one worked. They stole the ball twice from him, scored once also because of just getting the ball on their own half, and T scored on an Ogre to finish the match. Cause reasons. Don't ask why. Just know that T scored on an Ogre. It made no sense. It still doesn't make any sense. The Ogre didn't even level up. But he scored. So, happy days?
I guess if you already know you've lost the game, like getting SPP onto your Ogre is, it's still valuable even if you're not getting the level up itself. So I can kind of see that.
It was just so weird seeing him. Oh, I'll just pass to the Ogre. And it worked.
Maybe it's just like fed up and wanted to try something fun.
On the death, I believe he lost one of his catchers, which was actually one of the better catchers. I think it was a guard guy with blodge.
Can check quickly.
Yeah, you go and do.
Yeah, it was a guard block catcher that died, as well as a wrestle lineman.
They don't count as real people.
And then he got just to miss the next game on another lineman as well.
Like, losing the catcher is going to hurt. He's definitely not a key position of T. But despite T having 2 agility 5 guys, it seems like he's not being able to actually out-elf people. And even against the elves, he didn't get the dice to actually out-bash them. So, a bad week for T for sure. He probably can bounce back just before he enters like the hallway of doom, because he's pretty close to starting the Sage into vikingkop into metal round, which is definitely not something he's hoping for. He's not waiting for it, at least. He didn't want that, but he's getting that regardless.
Yeah, he wants to be at least going into that healthy, doesn't he? Because that's going to be quite the slaughterhouse there, those few games.
Like, he scored on the Ogre, but I have my doubts about the Ogre being able to survive at least those 3 games if he doesn't manage to die before that. We do, like, Big Al's are very famous for dying. They are not good players. That name is cursed, and there is a reason why we have 4 of them, because one dies on average on every season.
I think. Do you know what? There is a thing about big guys doing that though. I've had the same issue with the beasts on my Nurgle team. I've lost at least one every single season, and I think it's because they end up being in contact a lot. Like, you want to base them, but they don't have any defensive skills. And it's kind of like what we mentioned before. It's all very well and good having AV9, fixed goal, whatever. If you get hit enough, eventually something's going to stick. And they do tend to get hit more than other people. And when they do get hit, they're also more likely to go down because, like I said, they don't have block generally. They don't have those defensive skills. So I think it does happen more than you'd maybe expect. The big guys keep dying.
Yes. You base with them, I will agree about that. And in general, you remember when the big guy dies, because it's like a special moment. You don't expect a 3-man to ever die. So when a 3-man dies, that's like a happy day, and it's something magical. And it's about the same for like it's definitely the same for death rollers. Because like how? I have seen a death roller get niggled in the past in Rebel, which was incredible, and I was very happy about that. But you don't see the strong big guys die, and even like the strength 5 ones, like it just something about a big guy dying makes it something you remember.
Which is why the huge Jackman Memorial Cup is so much fun because you get multiple big guys dying all day.
And like silly things like agility 3 mummies, and like let's be real, how do you beat the silliness of an agility 3 mummy? We had Jerry, which was a forced meme in Rebel, which was an agility 3 extra arms rat ogre, but he's not as silly as a movement 3 ball carrier.
I would love to have seen that rat ogre. That sounds brilliant.
Yeah, he was a good meme.
Yeah, I think that game could have kind of gone either way, so I guess I'm not hugely surprised, but I don't think I would have been surprised to have seen T win it either. So.
Yes. Let's take a look at Dreamify's team. His team is still a little bit feeling in development. He has like the blodge and he has some sidestep. Like the most mentionable player is the Nigel, the wrestle, strip ball guard lip guy with dodge. He's definitely still rebuilding, but he has a bench for next game, which is incredible. Like very few elf teams manage to get out of the death spiral, and this team has managed to do it like quite a few times, considering this team has played for 6 full seasons and are in the middle of the 7th season because they started in season 2. So pretty nice seeing them bounce back up, getting a bench. Maybe next game they will have 2 in the bench.
In Div 1 as well, that is impressive.
Yes.
Although I can't look at this team without saying it. That dirty player, sneaky git, dodge lino hurts me a little bit inside.
Oh, you would have loved his Hail Mary pass runner. You would have loved him. I'm sure about it. I miss that guy. He was so stupid.
It's 130k for a Fowler. I'm struggling to see that being a good thing, but I'm not, I don't have all the right answers to everything. Maybe it's worked for him really well.
He enjoys his
like
fouling, but I think at this point, especially with dodge, it's getting a little bit bloaty. And I think Sneaky Git is a bad skill regardless, but I think it was more of an experiment, and he's not dying, so you're not going to fire him, because that you don't have a bench if you fire him. And what's the point in that?
That's true. You need the bench so that you can foul.
Yeah.
So it's like a secular, isn't it? In fairness, I can kind of see it. I'm not saying it's good, but I can see it, right? So you've got Agi 4 dodge, so you can really reliably get there to foul someone. You've got your dirty player to make the foul worth it, and then you've got sneaky git, so the fact that you're really bloaty isn't quite as bad. I can kind of see it if you're just going to go and randomly foul some guys without many assists and things like that, which is quite nice in a way. It means you don't have to commit to them as much. You're less likely to give up position and things like that. but I still maintain that's not something I like very much.
Yeah, like Sneaky Git is that skill which, when you would have really get wrecked by the dice, it saves you, but most of the time it does absolutely nothing. So it's nice to have that backup because snakes happen, and like snaking a foul and like getting sent off with no break really sucks at any time. But it's like I think it's not doing enough to be worth making your dirty player more expensive and just a skill slot and TV. But when you don't have the options to fire him, like you keep him regardless. Like even if he had pass block, you would keep him because he just won the bench.
It's still a dodge lineman, for example. Like he can, with Agi 4, he could still cause some problems to the opponent and do some good stuff. So
Yeah, vikingkop confirming that the dirty player did some things in his match and was able to remove an important piece for a while. So yeah,
fair
it
enough.
worked this time. Going for the next match, we had. Oh, this is a fun one. This is a very fun one. I won against Metal 2-0.
All right, talk through it then.
Uh,
How did it go down?
I won the toss, which was very important, and I was able to remove. Like he got a blitz, which made me so nervous. But he rolled pushes on his own blitz, and like I had enough guard to still maintain my blocks. I was able to injure like his Juggernaut guy. He regened, but it removed him for the drive, and I think I KO'd another important piece. So I started up numbers, and it pretty much went that the whole game. He didn't get a lot of knockdowns. He rolled quite a bit of pushes, while I was able to roll knockdowns. And after I removed like a warrior as well, I was just able to like leverage my guard and just survive while he's not getting the best dice. I definitely got lucky on that game, but I was very happy to end up winning this one because it's one of the hardest matchup I will have this season.
I think, the way that you've built your team as well, with all the guards stand firm, it's actually a really good way of dealing with these like Mighty Blow Claw teams. It's kind of counterintuitive in some ways because it means you having to like commit a bit more and face people. But if he does have even just like one bad round of blocks, where it doesn't even have to like turn over or anything, but if he just keeps pushing you or keeps getting like both downs and stuff, suddenly he can just be so out of position. Yeah. It can literally happen in one turn. So it only takes those few bad dice actually, and suddenly you can really have an advantage over them.
Yeah.
But it is maybe slightly risky because if he just has one turn of really good dice when you're doing that, he could remove a couple of players or something. So it's a bit tricky.
Like I got some inducements and I went for 2 apples and 2 babes with the game plan of just using them aggressively, which I did. So I appoed like a KO on a guard guy early on my drive, and appoed a badly hurt on the grab Black Orc as well. So like he got some removals, but they didn't stick because of that. So like because his regen doesn't work on KOs like my spare apples, and it's random, I was just able to get to maintain my important pieces, which really helped. Like that's the game plan. Just use your guard and just use the apples aggressively, because if you lose one guard, you're just losing the match. And I did end up like Huffer got injured very late into the match. He got niggled. The apple made it an MNG, so it was good at least. But I'm going to miss him for next match, which is not fun, because I like my guard Black Orcs.
Yeah, no, that's losing a guard is never going to be good. It's like strength 4 block guard. It's always going to be a bit annoying for you, but at least you do have a bunch more to take its place. I wouldn't say it's like the biggest thing, but it's definitely losing every piece of every guard you lose does definitely make a difference.
I'm playing elves next week, which makes it slightly easier to not have that guard.
Yeah, if you're playing another bash team, that would be definitely a lot more impactful.
Yeah, I get a week off against Reef Cannon's Elf, and then I get Sage. So I can recover that MNG at least before I get more Claw.
Yeah, that's quite nice. I guess, it's a decent chance that you'll come out of the next game, with a healthy team going up against Sage, which is what you need. So it's good.
Yep. Looking into Metal's team, he did play his match, and there was quite a big deck in his week 4 match. I actually didn't do anything. I badly hurt some guys that did stick. I badly hurt the Beast, and that really gave me all the room to work with. But I didn't perm anything. But he is missing his older Granny's Knitted Sweater, which was Strength 4, Mighty Blow, and Tackle. And that's a big loss for the team.
Yeah, that's massive. I remember, I think that happened, that was actually just earlier today, possibly? I can't remember exactly. I did see the match report for it. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like, it's obviously one of the important players, so in that respect, he's going to be annoyed that he's lost it. But I would say out of his important players, it's probably one of the ones that he'd be most okay with losing. I don't think it's as crucial as losing one of his block, might blow, claw, guard warriors or something. It's definitely going to be really impactful, and it's going to be another player he has to start trying to build up again potentially, but it could have been worse, I think, in fairness.
Yeah. It's also another tackle he's going to... He lost at least, so only 2 tackle going forward, and one of them being on a warrior. That might make the elf matches a lot more difficult. Only have 1 fast tackle. And that's why I think it's so devastating. Because on the bash matchups, it's not that bad, but on the elf matchups, it's going to be insanely difficult, and he already went through 3 orc teams and 1 chaos team. So most of the bash is gone.
Mm.
And that's when you really need the tackle.
Yeah, I mean, that's what that guy was built for, right? The Mighty Blow tackle, and actually having the plus strength is really nice for that. It increases the chance of getting 3 die and things like that, just to make sure you can get those blodges down.
Yeah.
So it's definitely a big deal. Don't get me wrong. Just out of the important players, I think it is one of the ones that's he would have been more willing to lose, but doesn't obviously mean he's going to be happy about it or anything.
Yeah, it would be more devastating to lose a warrior and maybe even the Agi5 Pestigore, just because the Agi5 Pestigore allows you to do things you cannot do otherwise.
Mm-hmm. And he's also extremely unlikely. Alright, I was going to say he's very unlikely to get something like that again, but I mean, plus strength obviously isn't very common either. But this is something that's really out of the ordinary and sets your team apart. Having the
Well, it's not that unique because he's dead now, but we did used to have Bodhi from Ariel, which used to be Agi5, 2 heads, sure hands, block and tackle. He was a beastman, which is slightly different, but about the same. And he died to the floor, of course, in playoffs. But he's not the first Agi5 Pestigore slash Beastman, which are practically the same. So not that unique.
Not for metal anyway.
Yeah. Still a very strong team. But I think Metal would have hoped to do better against the Orcs. He did win the week 4 match, but he lost. His record against Orcs is 1-1-1, which is counterintuitive at least, because you would expect it to be 3-0.
Yeah, I think we talked about this a tiny bit off stream possibly before we started. Yes. I have a really similar thing with the history of my Nurgle team. For some reason, I just always seem to really struggle against Orcs. I don't know what it is. On paper, a lot of the time you'd expect to do quite well, like you're saying. For some reason, I think if I added up all my games against Orcs, I probably lost more than I've won. I think I don't know what it is. I think a lot of it comes down to the coin toss, like as it often
Yeah.
does with the bash matchups. If the orcs go first and they actually manage to get a couple of removals in the first turn or something, doesn't matter if you've got a couple of claw mighty blow or something like that. If they're just outnumbering you straight from the start, it can be so hard to come back from that.
And they probably also outguard you because they can take
Hmm.
guard earlier on the players, and they are less
Yeah.
floaty regardless.
Hmm. Definitely.
Yeah,
So it's generally going to be in the favour of the Nurgle in those matchups, but I really don't think that you should ever count the orcs out.
For chat, this is the 4th season of this team for Metal, and like I know like it's quite a meme at times how orcs do well, at least in Gman against the Chaos teams and the Nurgle team, because like if we go a long time back into the start of Sage, like in his first season, Sage only lost to Pete's orc team, and then like in his second season he went to Division 1 and he lost once again only to Pete's team and drew against my team. And then like the following season he also lost to my team. And if you go to the statistics of Sun Slaughterers, about half of the losses are to orcs, which is like stupid. Like he has 10 losses and about 5 of them are to orcs. Which is not what you expect really.
Yeah, I do. I'd be really interested to see proper stats on that kind of thing. I do have a feeling that it's not as weighted um, on an individual game by game basis. I really don't know if it's as weighted in favour as the claw teams as you might think it is. I think the problem, and again, this is something we mentioned earlier off stream, I think, comes from trying to survive a whole season.
Yeah.
As say like orcs or lizards or something against a bunch of claw teams, that is really hard, and that is often going to mean losing players, and it gets harder and harder as the season goes on.
Yeah.
But if you're just looking at a specific game, I don't think it is as in favour,
Like
or as overly in favour as the claw team as you might think.
yeah, like when the orcs are healthy, they do like they might still lose it, but they do rather well overall. But when you like already lost an important Black Orc to a different claw team, then the matchup gets really bad. And like the next time you meet Claw, it's going to be even worse because you probably lose another player, and
Yeah,
eventually either your team is dead or you're crazy and decide to keep it like going.
yeah, for sure. Which that's one of the reasons I love this game. Like, there's so many little nuances, um, and you can think that there's a kind of favor in a certain matchup or something for a particular team, and if you look at the skills, you just think, well, surely that team's going to win. But then when it actually comes down to playing it, often you can be surprised. I always
Yeah.
like that.
Before we leave this topic, Drace and vikingkop, like Drace brought up that also dwarves are a little bit like that, and I would really disagree. Just because not having strength 4 on the dwarves makes a lot of difference. Because like if the Nergal or the Chaos have like a respectable amount of guard, you probably also get out strength from the get-go because of that strength 4 they have. And then you just get into a slaughterhouse. Because you cannot run away, because you're dwarves. Orcs can't run away either, but at least they can punch back. Uh, yeah, dwarves can guard spam, but like the difference between 6 and 4 guard against like 4 guard, or like even 8 against 4 guard, it's nice, but this like especially if you look at Metal's team, you're not going to stop the warriors from hitting you if they are together. And once you lose a dwarf or two, you lost your guard advantage, and he's still spamming Claw Mighty Blow on you, so you lose.
You also have strength 4 blitzes a lot of the time,
Yeah.
with the horns, pestigores. So you might be able to like tie up their warriors or something by basing them with a bunch of guard. But if they can, you're probably not going to be able to base up all of their pestigores and stuff as well. And if they can come in and do a strength 4 blitz somewhere, kind of get the line rolling, Often that can open it up and allow you to get more blocks, etc. It is really quite tricky, I think, when you're mostly strength 3, even
Also,
with more guard.
also another thing to consider is that dwarves don't have good fodder. Like orcs, if they really need to, they can just like send the sacrificial line orc to base like that scary player for one turn, just to make sure he doesn't blitz anyone important when you cannot really defend yourself. With dwarves, if you send a longbeard, that's hard because you need a longbeard free, and he probably is a guard guy. So you don't have the option to limit the scary players when you really need to, which is another key factor to actually being able to stop them. Because people are not going to dodge with the killer just to get a better hit.
Yeah. Confirmed, dwarves.
Dwarves not as
Crushed
good at
here.
orcs against the chaos, which is sensible because dwarves are just not that good against bash, at least compared to orcs. The strength 4 really makes the difference. So yeah, let's continue. Vikingkop killed some orcs. He played the orc haikus, which were quite battered, and won 2-0. I'm not surprised with that. I don't see any damage on the orc haikus, and they played their. Maybe there were some MNGs, but they already played the week 4 match.
It was just loners by the looks of it that took any damage. There's a couple of misnext games and a minus strength, but they were all on stars or mercenaries or loners.
Like the team still missing the player they lost against the Rats, I think it was. He's missing a Black Hawk that was with guard and a Blitzer that probably was also with guard. So the team is still a bit far from being healthy, but they survived both the Undead team and Viking Cop. So it's something. That's like for sure.
It's just the real lack of guard here. Like you would just expect, really, if I'm honest, an orc team with the higher, at this team value, to have more guard than that. I'd say. It's always going to be really tricky. Playing up in team value, they are a bit down compared to a lot of the teams in this division. But I think they'd deal with that better if they had more guard here. But he's got things to work on here. He's got the plus agility blitzer with sure hands. That's really nice.
Yeah.
Means you definitely don't need to even consider the thrower, whichever camp you end up coming into. Definitely don't need it if you've got that. And I'm fanifying the frenzy player as well. And they've got a plus strength guy, so they've really got a lot to work with here. I think they just need a bit of time, spam a bit more guard, and they'd actually be quite a strong team potentially.
Yeah,
But
they
it's
have
gonna be tricky.
good stats, and like the Goblin Troll combo, usually I still don't like it, but with an Agi4 Goblin, it's definitely a lot better.
It's more worth it, yeah, definitely.
But like, if he manages to survive the season, get like level up on Black Hawks. Don't ask me how. I still don't know how I leveled up mine. Level up the troll as well. Get like 3-4 guard. Next season, this team will be super strong. The problem is getting that guard is not easy, because how you level Black Hawks, we may never know. You just MVP, roll good MVPs. That's the strategy, really.
Yeah, pretty much. You don't even. I mean, obviously, it depends how you want to play it, but a lot of the time, you're not even going to be getting Mighty Blow that early on the Black Hawk. So, it really does take a long time. After your first skill or two, it's a long road. You can be pretty effective just with block guard on the Black Hawk.
No,
You don't need much more than that. It's nice, but
stand firm is really strong. Well. But after that, it's like odd skills. Like if you look at my Black Hawks, it gets quite weird after. Like the guy that only rolled normals, like he has Mighty Blow as well because he was the only Black Hawk I took Mighty Blow on, and then I went with Grab because I don't hate Grab and it's interesting, and I just don't like Break Tackle if I don't have Diving Tackle or Normal Tackle for the same reasons.
Viking Top saying that he had Morg as one of his inducements, and he found that quite tricky to deal with. Vikingkop found it tricky to deal with. I've never considered Morg to be a particularly good star. Like Dracer said, he's a bit too expensive. But at the end of the day, it is this big, massive guy that can get in your face, and you've got to deal with. He might not be like the best value, but it doesn't stop him being really useful. So
Yeah, he like strength 6 is really annoying. You really need to commit to it, and like unlike a Treeman, he can move around and get into a good spot, so you can't really ignore him. You have to deal with him, and if you don't manage to kill him with Claw, he can be very frustrating. Also, to the race that wants to remove the cost of Morg, like that would definitely make him a lot better, but then he would even be more value compared to Big Rat, because like he's already somehow better than Big Rat, because Big Rat is the worst star player, and like we love Big Rat here. We cannot let Big Rat become even worse in comparison to Morg. We cannot allow that. Hashtag free Big Rat, hashtag Big Rat best rat. And
you need to like go to a tabletop tournament or something and build a team around him.
you say that, but like my Chaos Cup team, which Chaos Cup is the one-day tourney with the random skills. I went full line rats because full line rats is stupid, and I like playing full line rats. Usually I don't allow myself to induce stars when I play full line rats, because then it's even more silly. But I decided that I allow myself to induce Big Rat and Fezlich, because Fezlich is a line rat, and Big Rat is stupid. So I had Big Rat for like 3 games, and he was so fucking bad. He won, he won in 9 so many times, and it made no sense. I had so much fun that day.
I don't think I've ever used him, if I'm honest.
He's so bad. Don't. Like
I don't think I've even seen him in a game.
He's like 330 for pretty much a rat ogre with no wild animal and strength 6. That's it. Like
so you get.
Yeah, that sounds really bad, and he is really bad, but it was funny.
Yeah, and you said it was in the Chaos Cup, right? So you do that for having a laugh anyway. So.
Yeah, it was a good day. Back to it. Vikingkop was the one that punched those orcs. So let's look at his team.
It's looking as scary as always.
It's Claw Mighty Blow, and more Claw Mighty Blow, and more Claw Mighty Blow, and a tail. I see a tail. Now that's not Claw Mighty Blow, so it's interesting.
Yeah, he likes putting the prehensile tail on his Wrestle Beastman. I think he does it mainly just for the because it looks great.
I would expect like tail on later on development on a beastman that goes block, guard, stand firm, tail, tackle.
Yeah, vikingkop doesn't like piling on Drace.
Yes, he hates it. Like, I definitely agree with vikingkop that a lot of coaches use piling on too much and rely on it too much. Like, I don't agree. I like having one piling on. On my team, I have two because I bought a blitzer from the market because my piling on does absolutely nothing. So maybe a new one will be useful. I don't think Knife Juggler piled on once in the season yet.
Yeah, I've only got piling on one player, and I use it probably once or twice a game. I probably use it on like a quarter to a fifth of my blocks or blitzers, something like that. I'm very careful about when I do and don't use it, but I do think it's worth having on the team.
Yeah, piling on is a nice skill to have for when you really need to get that removal, but I see a lot of coaches, especially less experienced coaches, but also like high level coaches, sometimes just instantly pile on because they want that damage without considering the pitch position, and it makes you foulable, which is like the lesser threat. The big threat is that player just has no tackle zones and he's on the floor. So he's not going to be able to move, so it's easy to outposition him. And you might need players standing up. It's easier to like spam guard on you when two of your players piled on and are on the floor for free.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, you lose like position and like control and open yourself up to getting fouled as well. So you really got to be careful when you use it, I think.
Also, I have to agree with vikingkop that the tail looks amazing. I just had it like on the stream for a while, and it's so lovely. It's really good on the Beastman.
Yeah, I think it's one of the best mutations in terms of the aesthetics.
Nah, that's like two heads on gutter runners.
Well, the one you can't even see.
Yes, yes. No, but like
It's an extra chin, isn't it?
yeah, it's, well, like if you look at the normal rat, it's like another head upside down, connected on the jaw, which looks like all right, I guess. But on the gutter runners, it's like they have a hood, so you just see like the jaw flapping, and it's so weird and like pointless.
Yeah, I think the best one's probably is toss up between tail and the two heads on the underworld goblins.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
Also, I like the gummy worm tentacle on the underworld troll, but just that is just.
Oh yeah, they are cool actually. There's massive fuck off big tentacles. Yeah, they're good.
Also, disturbing presence is if you don't start with it, it's just like a fire on the player. So it's pretty nice, but it's super lazy design and makes very little sense. Like,
Okay. Should we go on to the next game?
yes, vikingkop killing stuff, being vikingkop. What a surprise! Ooh, Sage drew against Reef Cannon 2-2. I watched that match and was unsatisfied with the amount of deaths. Also, Reef Cannon rolled lots of stats from memory. He rolled like, thanks to this game, 2 new RG5 guys, and maybe even like the strength guy is new as well.
Hell. Yeah, he's got 3 RG5 players.
Well, I get him
That's
this week,
scary.
and I'm hoping I can murder them. But his team is silly. Like he lost 400 TV last game, and now he gained it all back with stats.
Just traded it in for stats instead.
Grind
He
the
also
elves
got,
into Agi dust.
He got the plus strength on the lineman as well.
Yeah.
That game. That's so crazy.
Like, oh, I just get Agi strength.
Oh my god. Yeah, fair play. That is such a scary team now.
Well, it was scary, not
You have
scary,
fun
scary.
against that.
Well, I think I can do well. I'm not afraid of the 3-ball guy, because I have guard for the cage and sure hands. And I might be able to just murder him, and I'm going to get all the inducement in the world.
Yeah, I did actually catch a bit of this game. I know Sage was quite frustrated for a lot of it. He was basically getting outbashed by the Dark Elves. You can see the Dark Elves didn't actually have a single injury this game. Sage had a few badly hurts and things like that. But I don't think for a lot of the game, it didn't look like it was gonna. It looked like it was just going to be a straight up win for Rift Cannon. But Sage managed to do some silly play in the last turn or two to draw it. So he was actually quite lucky to get the draw there, I think, in the end stage.
Sage had like a bad week last week against Metal, and this week was also hard on the matchup. Just Rift Cannon getting some nice dice. Sage really hoping to recover from the bad dice at least. Let's look at his team shortly. The important thing to notice is the strength 4 Juggernaut guy is still running around with the Nigel, which I think he is now fully committed to keep him. What do you think about that? Because I'm like really not agreeing with Sage on this one. I think the Nigel is too tough to keep.
The thing is he's lost a couple of players recently. He's got that like rookie Chaos Warrior there that he's going to be trying to build up as well. It's hard to lose a player, that's so advanced. I have to be honest. I'd probably keep it. I think I am with Sage on this one. Why you don't like the fact that he's more, he's gonna suffer a bit more attrition because of that.
Yeah.
I take it.
Like, the thing is, yes, he's nice to have, but if he gets badly hurt because he was claw bombed or just claw mighty blowed, he's so much TV going to doing absolutely nothing. And I would argue that inducements, especially with two dirty players, might do more for you. Or not giving out inducements, because playing against bribes when you have that guy is like asking to just lose him quickly or just being too afraid to use him properly.
Yeah, it is true that you're often going to leave yourself exposed if you just surfed someone. So he could be taking more hits, maybe. I think I do agree with vikingkop here. I just don't know if he's really got his team's in a position right now where he can get rid of a player that's so like highly leveled up. When that like new Chaos Warrior has got a level or two, it feels a bit more solid all round. I would say maybe he'll get rid of it, but
Fair enough. Yeah, like, I'm definitely understanding your side. I think that I just fear Nigels like a lot from experience. So I probably wouldn't keep it. But then again, I have a Nigel player on my team. He's completely there for memes, and memes are important. And like right now, I see why there is a reason to try and keep him. There's definitely arguments for it. Sage still having 3 Claw Mighty Blow, 2 is piling on for his team. His team is scary still, even with the damage he took for metal. vikingkop agreeing with you and saying it's a difficult call. So, yeah, definitely a hard one to make, especially for Sage, because he actually has to decide on that one. And I believe those are all the themes, so let's go looking at matchups quickly. Uruk-haikus and the Undead that we didn't look at because they got the bye week, so we'll look at quickly. That was a 1-1 draw. General Marauder getting a bye week into a draw, and I see a level up on a rookie ghoul. And I believe the other ghoul got blocked just to get a MNG'd against the Uruk-haikus. His goals are starting to form up, but like I just don't like Undead in this TV slot. It's too weak.
Yeah, I think we've said it almost every week, haven't we? It's just tricky at this team value.
Like it's a bit mean, but like that, like no matter how insane an Undead team looks, if it was any other team, it probably would be a lot more scary.
Sorry, I was reading the chat. Yeah, I think you're completely right. The thing is they just start off so well, and that's what's good about Undead. Later on, other teams have the same stuff that you've got, that that you started with, but their players are just better with that. It's just not a lot which really stands out at high team values. Like, I don't know what you have to like as an advantage over most other teams. Yeah. You've got 2 strength 5 guys that don't have loner, I suppose, is really what you have. But, other people can work around that once they have a bunch of skills on their players and stuff.
Yeah, like they usually will outguard you because you only have 4 guys with access to guard, and your whites are also your killers, so they usually cannot protect the mummies. and mummies usually don't have block as well, and they are super slow, which really makes it hard to defend them. So against the claw team, they're just going to be able to punch you, and against like an orc team, they can just isolate them and have more than enough guard to like control the rest of your team.
Yeah, definitely. And it's things like having, if you've got like 4 ghouls, like they could be quite handy having like, the higher movement and having the dodge and stuff early on. But later on, they're just kind of there to get hit. Like people are going to have tackle, mighty blow, and they're just there to be removed.
Yeah, well, like
I often find, because obviously without regen or an apo, and AV7, all they have to protect them is blodge.
yeah,
And as soon as there's a bunch of tackle around, that's obviously not too helpful. So
yeah, like General Moroder entered the season with 2 rookie ghouls. He managed to level them up, but like I think even he knows that it's only temporary, because eventually one of them will fall apart, and then you need to rebuild another ghoul, because they are just too fragile.
and it's harder to protect them as well. Like on Necro, for example, you only have like a maximum of 2, obviously. So it's a little bit easier to keep them away from the opponents, behind your screen, etc. It's hardest to do that when they're taking up 4 of your slots.
Yeah. Also, like for Necro, you can commit the ghouls to be 100% ball carriers. On the Undead, I definitely agree with having like 1 frenzy ghoul and probably 1 ball sucker ghoul, and then like a ball carrier. And you can protect the ball carrier, but the frenzy guy is going to be in the front, and the ball sucker needs to be in the front, and they die. And it's really tough to keep them alive for more than a few games.
And they get focused as well.
Yeah,
because they're AB7 and there's no regen or Apo. People want to hit them, so they do tend to get focused if the opportunity's there.
They are definitely the weak spot, and like especially at the high TV level, you just need to carry them, and like zombies are just fodder. So you're pretty much with like mummies and whites, and they are nice, but when you compare them to like 4 Chaos Warriors, like 4 Chaos Warriors are stronger than 2 whites, 2 mummies, and they also have a better team to support them.
Yep. Agreed.
So yeah, that's the Undead they drew against the Orcs. The Orcs were quite beaten. I think the Orcs are happy with that one, going into a match quite beaten and taking the draw. Next match we have me versus Black Pyramid. Now we looked at Riff Cannon rolling like all the stats, and like we can take, and me missing a Black Orc. So like this is a match I'm actually quite afraid of. I do have 2 Pomp Tackle and 1 Mighty Blow Tackle. Also, like, Knife Jugger has Juggernaut, which is fun against Wrestle, but he's not going to be able to kill anything anyway. And
yeah, I'd say this is going to be a pretty tough game for you. I wouldn't be surprised if you managed to injure a couple of guys, but I think you're going to struggle to stop them from scoring. Essentially.
Yeah. I feel like this is going to end like a 1-1 draw, because I'm just not going to score quickly. I'm just going to be able to safely grind my half and not really be able to stop them.
Yeah, I think that's quite likely. Unless you do just manage to take down a load of guys early on, but you can't really rely on that. So I think it's quite likely that it'll end up something like a draw here.
Yeah, I really smell like a draw. If he manages to get some removals early on me, that would be devastating. Also, I will get some inducements. I'm not 100% sure what I'll take. Probably some bribes. So maybe that carries me for the match. Just foul, get like 2-3 elves out with early on, and then from there, like force them to play with you, and I just be very annoying with stand firm and don't allow them to move.
Yeah, I really do like fouling against blodge, so it's a good tactic.
Yeah, it works. Also, I have grab to counter sidestep. which probably will not matter, but it makes on paper makes the diving tackle sidestep guy a lot weaker.
Yeah.
So that's something. Yeah, it's going to be a difficult match. I just think that I have the guard to protect like the thrower in the cage, and like 2 red dice on him with the leap guy, especially because he's only RG4. That's like a 3+ to get into a 1 in 4 to knock the ball down, and you also need a favorable scatter. So I feel like I'm not going to get sacked most likely, especially because I think Riff will be very conservative with leaping into the cage, because I do have a dirty player, and I will foul you.
If you're listening, I will
foul you. Well, he should know it regardless.
Yeah, I'm sure he does.
Uh,
I think we might need to try and go a little bit faster through this.
Quickly, High Sales versus Cornego Carnages.
Yeah, sorry, I hate to do it, but I'm running out of time a little bit.
I probably vote vikingkop because vikingkop, but if there is a time he can lose is to very silly elves, and these elves are very silly.
Yeah, I mean, any game these high sales play, they could win against any opponent with these players. I'd pretty much say. Don't know. Check how much tackle he's got. He's got a good amount of tackle. Vikingkop does, so he's got some tools to deal with it. I think honestly, it's any time we look at a game that Venechar's playing with high sales, it's going to be so hard to call, because if the dice are right, like I said, I'm confident he could beat any team with this. So even if you might think when everything's kind of like on a level, if you assume equal coaching, equal dice and stuff, even if you think that, I think another team might beat him in that situation with only a few good dice and a couple of key moments, and he's going to beat any team with this. So yeah. That's all it takes, even if he looks like he's the underdog. So I think it's always going to be hard to say with this one.
Yeah, like Wood Elves on paper are usually insanely annoying for Chaos, because Chaos just commit too much skills to deal with Bash, and they don't have enough anti-shenanigans skills, we'll call them like that. Like Venechar can definitely aim to take this one. You can never count him down, but I still put the lead towards vikingkop, even with Venechar getting a wizard and probably like Eldril as well, and like babes, which are really annoying to deal with. But I just believe in vikingkop. Like,
yeah, I'm less sure, to be honest. I mean, we all know how good a coach he is. Did really well last season. He's had a really good start to this season. Just with those inducements as well, like having a wizard for with those high agility, high movement players, it's so hard to deal with that.
Yeah, like if he gets Eldril and a wizard, sometimes like he gets a good hypno gaze, sacks the ball, scores quickly, like then wizard, score quickly, and then like it's still your half, but you're 2-0 down, and they just need to score quickly when they get the ball on their half, and you're just not fast enough to counter it. And that's usually the game plan. It's the same. It's pretty similar to the Skaven game plan, and it's a game plan that works. So we might see that this game.
Yeah, could be fun. Could easily see a lot of death, and we could also see a lot of scoring. So it's two fun things right there.
Well, we had a lot of that in the last high sales match.
We did, yeah. Maybe that'll just keep watching the high sales game.
Lots of touchdown, lots of murder.
Yeah.
Can't ask for anything else. Also, Metal already won 1-0 against Manusatra. We talked about it a little bit. He lost his Strength 4 Mighty Blow Tackle Beastman. T is going to take the week off against the bye week. And to finish it, we have Ravenclaws against Filbo's Fighting Fist.
I'm going to double check Filbo's team, but I've got a feeling I'm going to go with the Rats here.
Yeah, I know both the teams, and I'm probably also going with the Rats because I believe in Gaudi, but I believe less time the teams faced, and yes, Filbo like completely destroyed Gaudi. Like he won 2-0 with a lot of murder. So it can happen again. Filbo has two good killer blitzers, and Gaudi's a little bit weaker with losing those two gutter runners. If he gets a bribe and just like fouls and kills him, he might be able to get enough damage early enough to just win the match on that. He did it before, and he might do it again. So I'm not counting him down, even though I will give the edge to Gaudi. Mostly because of the natural one-turner.
Natural one-turner. He's got his Claw Mighty Blow to do a bit of damage himself. He actually has more guard, I think. Not that he's going to want to be like basing up too much, but might make it harder. It might make it harder for Filbo to do that.
Well, he has more guard, but the problem here is that Filbo has the strength. And like, if you look at the classic Orc versus Dwarf matchup, Orcs win even if the Dwarves have more guard, because dealing with strength 4 players is really difficult when you're based up and cannot move. Gutter runners can move, but if you base up the guard correctly, the guard is meaningless if it's spread. And line rats don't dodge.
Yeah, definitely. It could go either way for sure. Rats have a tendency to implode sometimes, and this is going to be a big game for Gaudi, like we were saying earlier. He really needs to be able to stabilize a little bit. Yeah. So in that respect, it's going to be quite a big one for him. But I do think it's definitely in his favor for sure.
Yeah, vikingkop saying that he's probably going to win, but also probably going to die. Which, I mean, like, it's usually a good thing, but the game plan for this match should be not to die and win. And I don't think he can pull it off, which might it might be okay for this game, but next game and next game, you might just reach the point where you have like one good gutter runner, and that gutter runner is on the bench because it's the natural one-turner, and then you actually lose matches.
Yeah, it's about staying alive over the long term, definitely, for him right now.
Yeah.
For Gaudi.
Just for wonder, next, week 5, which is after this, Ravenclaws gets the bye week. So actually that really helps him. So even if he gets completely destroyed, at least MNGs are meaningless. Which is definitely going to affect the leaderboard a lot. After that, after the bye week, he gets to dive back into the undead as well. So actually I would say after this match he has a soft time. So maybe he can even survive some damage. But he can still not afford to lose any of the key positionals. He can afford to lose line rats.
That's what they're there for.
Yeah.
Meat for the meat grinder.
I believe that's it for the week 3 recap of the top 3 divisions of Gman. It was a pretty long one. I'm not sure if it's good or bad. Thank you to Infinitepink for joining me for this longer than expected recap and not dying this time.
Yeah, managed to make it all the way through. Look at that.
Yeah, you're improving, which is great. Thanks for anyone in chat that watched it. Also to vikingkop, I hope that you get better soon. And it would be nice to have you back for next week. You were missed.
Yeah, come back to us.
We need you. We need a voice of reason that asks for dirty player and bench.
Yeah, we didn't complain about lack of dirty player once this stream. God damn it.
Quality has dropped massively since you left, as you can see. Yeah, so thank you for anyone that watched on Twitch and was in chat or on YouTube. we probably will be back next week unless we all die somehow. It's possible, but unlikely. And I believe we are going back to focus on Division 3 next time because we're doing it in a loop.
Hmm.
So, yeah. I hope this was enjoyable, even if it was a little bit longer than expected.